Hey guys, thanks for coming back for part 2 of the Honda CBR 250/300 swap for a monkey or Grom. And I'm going to tell you, this video is really going to pertain more to the monkey because I did get around to stripping the bike and I also got the engine in. Lots left to do. There'll be a whole, I think I'm going to do a whole episode of just figuring out how to get the foot controls to work, wiring done. That'll be its whole another episode. So, but today we're just going to talk about stripping the bike down and getting the motor in and kind of the challenge you have to go through to do that. And I took notes too. So I'm going to go through everything that I went through today, some of the issues, and we'll just go through it on some of the problems that you're going to come across. Like, I watched the Grom video. Stand by, Red Leader. Super Fast Matt. So I watched Super Fast Matt on his Honda Grom swap, and I wanted to kind of integrate some of the things that he's missing on that video that's going to help you on this video. There's definitely differences between the Grom and the monkey, and definitely in ways that how things that work for Matt don't necessarily work for me. So we're gonna just kind of compare the two on the monkey because it's different. So let's start it off. First off, make sure you organize all your bolts. Your hardware is gonna come off. So make sure you have like a bolt bucket. I just, whenever I start a project, I just get an old coffee can and just fill that thing up with bolts and stuff that are coming off the bike. So get all your tools together. I usually put it in a pan. I have my tool pan, and then I have my bucket filled with bits and hardware. As I go through the project, I don't lose anything. So that's what I do. So first things first, remove the tank, remove the fender, the rear fender, because you need to get to the harness. So remove the rear fender, remove the box, the air box, or not the air box, but the battery box storage area, which I think is completely useless on the monkey. I've turned it into an air box personally, and I'm going to reuse it as the air box, just kind of plumb where the Unipod filter will land. It will be under the seat, so it kind of makes it less noisy. I don't understand why you'd put storage under the seat when you have to use two 12mm bolts to get the seat off. To me, it just doesn't make any sense unless you're going to put some emergency tools in. But in that case, I'll just put it in a top case, right? So anyways, got to remove the storage area underneath the seat, battery box. Just make sure that you've got everything off. And then you can start really attacking the wiring harness. And the thing about the wiring harness is there's a lot of 10s, a lot of 10mm bolts that like hold on grounds, stuff like that. There's a lot of those little clips where it clips into the frame in random spots. Like there's probably like 20 clips that hold the harness to the bike. So it's just a beast to get the whole harness off because you're like, oh, why is it stuck? Oh, there's a clip, then another clip, and a clip, and a clip, and a clip, and there's so many clips. So once you get all that stuff off, you finally start getting the harness off. I worked from the back of the bike, got the fender off, started working my way up, getting the loom out as I was working up towards the front, unclipping, sensors or, unhooking sensors or solenoids or whatever's connected, the rectifier, like unhooking everything as I work my way up to the bike. Working with those stupid clips that are in everywhere, and the only way to really get them is use a flathead screwdriver and just pry them out. I tried pinching them off. The best way is just give them a good yank if you had a good thick part of the loom, or just use a screwdriver. It gets really complicated under the headlight bucket. So I took the headlight bucket off, and it came right off. And then it makes me wonder what's going on inside this headlight bucket because it's an 8-pin connector on the headlight bucket. So it makes me think that maybe, I don't know, maybe the direction, like the indicator is in here or something. I'm gonna have to look at a harness. I'm gonna have to look at a wiring diagram because more I look into this, the more I go, I think I might replace this headlight with a nice circle headlight and then put an LED in it and just run the CBR harness. Because as I was going through it more and more, there's just so many weird little things that are going on with this monkey. So once you get the harness off, you know, then you're basically get everything unbolted, you know, and then you gotta start taking the engine out. So the engine is just I believe it's like 4 bolts that hold the engine on. There's this weird bracket underneath on the monkey, which I don't think is on the Grom. The motor coming out was pretty easy. You know, just make sure you take the exhaust out, drop that out, remove your side pegs for the monkey, because the monkey, the side pegs kind of cover up those engine mounts. Not really sure if it's like that on the Grom, but on the monkey, half the side pegs, or your foot pegs, like those plates that they mount onto, just cover so many things up. So just take them off and start to drop the motor. The motor was pretty easy to drop out. I did weigh the monkey engine and the CBR engine when the monkey engine did come out, just to kind of see what was going on, and it's 12 pounds lighter, the air-cooled engine, than the water-cooled engine. So the water-cooled engine is like 72-ish pounds, and the monkey engine with the big bore kit and the oil cooler and filter was 60 pounds. So it might be a little lighter with a stock engine. So you are going to get a heavier engine with the water-cooled engine, not including the coolant in there. So there's going to be a little more weight on that, plus the radiator and stuff. So, you know, it's probably closer to 75 pounds. On Super Fast Matt's how-to for the Grom swap, he doesn't really talk about it. You just see him pulling out and kind of swiggle it in, and he has the engine mounts on the engine first. I decided to go the opposite way, because he doesn't really talk about how the mounts actually work. You know, you get these mounts and they're not put together. The brackets, now the brackets, there's only 2 spots on the bracket where you mount to the engine. And I starred those. You can look at them now. And then the bottom side of the mount is the 2 bolts that are the closest together. So it's got that weird shoe look. The thicker it is, and it kind of tapers out and towards the front, or towards the top, that's towards the top, obviously. So the spacers are going to be big spacers where they don't mount up to the CBR. Those bigger spacers, the bigger bolts go there. The very top bolt, you want to hold off on putting that in at all, because there's a vent for your crankcase vent on the engine. It needs to get past that bolt mount, and once you get everything snugged in and then pass through the final bolt, there's a spacer that's carved out for the vent for the crankcase. So make sure that that's all squared away. Matt had his mounts on the engine first. I put the mounts in the bike first, and then that gave me an opportunity to kind of see what needed to be grounded out. There's definitely some spots that need to be grounded out. There's a mount on the bottom. I don't think the Groms have, but I have. I had to flatten it out, grind that off so that the bottom of the CBR engine could fit. There was also a couple of clips in the way of the engine, like the clips that are welded in that hold wires and all sorts of things on the frame. So I had to cut some places there so that I could fit the motor. So because I did it myself, bike without a tire on the rear, so that it was kind of squatting at an angle, so I could just take the motor and kind of shimmy it in after I got all the mounts up, shimmy in the CBR engine, and then pass lift it a little bit and pass the bottom bolt through, and it went through. I got it through. So I got the engine in, passed the bolt through, and then I just kind of leveraged it. I used some dolly wheels I had to kind of roll and shimmy and roll and get the motor to kind of just start pitching and pitching and pitching. And then I kind of straddled the bike and pulled the engine towards me, and then passed the last bolt through, and that was it. Motor's in. And then, you know, I made sure everything was good. I tightened everything out, and it looked good. Like I said, there's a couple of spots they don't talk about, Matt doesn't talk about, doesn't really talk about how to install the bracket. So I just kind of am explaining it so people can know. So when the CBR engine's in, everything starts to come together. And now it's time to start putting everything together. And that's when I really called it quits. I was getting so tired by the end of it, trying to figure out stuff, that I was like, okay, I'm done. So I put the rear wheel back on. Fought with that. I hate the wheel. I hate the caliper design on the Monkey. It just drives me bananas. No pun intended, but it drives me nuts. Like just trying to figure out how to get the caliper on and line up all the axle all the axle spacers. It just makes me like lose my mind. But I got the wheel on, haven't put a chain on, put the exhaust on, and I think it's gonna work for me. I don't know if it would work for anybody else because I'm actually using mounts for my sidecar. I don't know if you would want to lean too far with it if you were leaning, but like I said, not leaning, I'm on a sidecar, so the exhaust just hangs out, doesn't really do anything. So it's a little low, it works. It's a CBR 250 exhaust, and I'm using the Yoshimura muffler from the Yoshimura system. So that's basically where I'm at. I'm gonna call it quits today. I've got to figure out how the clutch works. The clutch cable from the CBR 250 is too short, so I'm gonna have to use the Monkey clutch. The throttle cables do work from the Monkey. They seem to be working fine. The brake needs to be fixed. The brake lever has interference, so I need to either bend something out or change it out. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I gotta see if there's some aftermarket, like, I don't want to put rear sets on it, but I gotta figure out something. I gotta figure out the brakes, and I gotta figure out the shifter. The stock shifter is definitely not gonna work because on the Grom, if you look at Matt's site, the shifter is behind the foot peg on the Grom. Well, in the Monkey, the shifter is in front of the foot peg, so I gotta figure out how to make that work. It's gonna be kind of a bear, I think. So I gotta figure out how to get the shifter to work. Once I get the shifter done, I'll do an episode for the shifter, the brake, everything basically the control wise, so it would stop and go and I don't have to worry about it. I'll do the chain at that point, and then it'll be a kind of a shorter one, and then I'll work on wiring. And I think as I slept on it last night, really thought about it, I think what I'm gonna do is go with the CBR 250 complete wiring harness. I think I'm just gonna get everything from the 250, the headlight harness to controls, bars, controls, and all that stuff. It's just gonna be easier. There's just so many different things going on with the Monkey that I just don't think it's gonna work so great with trying to mesh two looms together. And then I got the loom, so if I ever wanna go back, I can go back. So I don't think I'll ever go back, but it's an option now. So I'll probably end up going that route with it. So, but that's where I'm at. So that's part 2. That's stripping the bike, getting the motor in. What a job, man. What a job. So I'm gonna finish my beer. I'm gonna edit this video and you guys can enjoy it. All right, I'll talk to you later. I'm gonna keep it shiny side up out there, and I will see you next time. Best.